Well, hello there. You're watching About the Albums, and this time we're talking about the album "The Day the Sun Exploded," which originally came out in January of 2014. Um, and I know the last one I did on these was about the album Titanium, which actually came out in February of 2014. But the reason I did this is because that was kind of related to the one before that. And I think what had happened was I was maybe recording enough stuff to get that finished. And so since I didn't have enough stuff to have it be done yet, I didn't start uploading stuff on it yet. Or I started uploading stuff on this one earlier and finish it. I guess I can't remember specifically which case this was. I think it was that was the case, though, that I just had the other one done. Not done yet, and this one was done. But basically, the idea for this album is just that it's a lot of songs that are supposed to be about the event of the sun exploding. So as you can imagine, it might be a little disastrous. But it's interesting, I guess, as a concept. It's a concept album about that. That's not it's not post-apocalyptic. It's just it's circa apocalyptic. I wanted it to be about the day the sun exploded. I wanted it to be very much when the sun was exploding. So that was kind of the goal. And I used some similar instrumentation throughout it, which we'll kind of hear. And so I had this small, like this the same concept and that instrumentation going through it. And I think that's actually pretty cool. From what I remember, this came out pretty neat. It's also a shorter album. It's it's not that long, only a few songs on it. So that also made it a little interesting and just different than some of the other stuff that I do. But that's I think all I really have for the preface of this one. So it might be a shorter video, but we'll see how long I can ramble, and I might make that a lie. So don't quote me on it just yet. See the fire rise above us, molten magma down below. We will choke on all the rock dust as we watch the sun explode. The Day the Sun Exploded is the title track of the album of the same name. That's why it's a title track. I didn't need to say both those, did I? And it's about the thing. It's about the event of the sun exploding. And it's kind of just like watching it happen, and also kind of hoping that morbidly, like, the effects of the sun exploding will, like, the way it's like throwing the earth off and everything, that will actually kind of almost hoping that those things will kill you before they'll kill everyone before the actual heat and fire and everything and the force of the sun exploding, like, before that reaches earth. So it's a pretty dark song, and it kind of drones a bit too. And I don't know, there's something about like that droning, like, synth bass tone in there, whatever. Then synth bass, but synth. It's supposed to be like a synth drum. It's from like that, like set, like drum set, but like it has like different like notes to it or whatever. But I had that play, and I have like like the synth bass that plays on it that I have on there. Those notes, I like the way that's kind of like a kind of like calm, sad, calming thing. And the weird, like, I don't even know what that is. That's some kind of like weird drum, I think, hitting that. It's really interesting to me, I guess. Some of the tones that I picked for these, aside from like the piano, is pretty standard stuff. And it's a song that I kind of let it breathe. And then the way I sang it was very within my capabilities, and I don't know, it was cool. I think the lyrics were cool. I picked some, even though there's not a lot of them. I think the ones I picked were cool. Yeah, and it works. It does what I wanted it to do, and that's good. I don't know. That's really all there is to say for the song, other than, like, also I think I did a helicopter tone that was on the keyboard, like, kind of like quietly underneath a lot of it, to have it sound kind of like the rumblings of like earthquakes and explosions and that kind of thing. Have a kind of like effect to it underneath everything, a really low helicopter tone. And then this is low. This is sign language for low. And I think I did that because I'm thinking of the keyboard in front of me and being like, low. That's high. That's low. So there's that, and the way it ends also, it's weird, of like a long like droning of that, which is kind of like supposed to kind of point out the symbolize like the nothingness that will happen afterwards once everything is gone. So that's the day the sun exploded. We're getting ready for a good time. Running on the wind, running on the wind, running on the wind, running on the wind. Running on the Wind is a song that actually, interestingly, I'll get this out of the way so I don't forget this and blank on it again. It took me forever to pull this up in my fucking head. So this is a song that basically I always wanted to call it, like you can tell even when I was writing it and doing stuff, I wanted to call it Running on the Wind. And then I changed the title when I initially uploaded it, when I was going to put it up, to The Clouds Can't Help You Now. As a thing of like clouds aren't going to be enough to cover the sun to stop it from exploding, that kind of idea. It doesn't have a whole lot to necessarily do with the song, just the concept of the album. And the song itself doesn't really have much of a concept to it. It's just, kind of like a reflective thing where like you're looking back on life and the meaning of things. Is kind of one of those introspection kind of things, but it's not real specific or anything, so you can pull a lot of stuff out of it if you want. Just kind of mystic lyrics. And which doesn't bode well for the concept part of the album, but it's kind of a thing of like, you're contemplating your life is like kind of flashing before your eyes and stuff. You're getting that time to think about these things, so it can kind of fit. But I didn't call it Running on the Wind initially, because I thought there was already a song called Running on the Wind, and it was in my head, I was mixing it up with Riding on the Wind by Judas Priest. That's what it's called, not Running on the Wind. And there might be a song called Running on the Wind, but I don't think I found anything when I was looking. So if there is, I still don't know. So whatever. It makes more sense, and I'll actually remember which song it is now, which is good, because that's all I ever thought of, and I remember every time going to the playlist and being like, what the fuck is this song again? And then listening to it like, oh, it's that one, because I had to change the name. And I'm so glad I remember this. And to give you another idea, I was like, I know there was another title, but I can't remember it, even though it was that for years. And I looked at my old albums thing, but I'd already changed it there. I pulled out my old CD of it that I had burned, and I was like, maybe if I put that in, it'll have the info, and I can see it on there. But nope, it wouldn't pull up the info from the files or anything. So when I went on there, it just was like unknown artist and whatever. So I had to really think about it, like, what was it called? And I'm glad I pulled it up. So that's good that's in here. And that's something that I'm glad to save now, because I will forget that forever until I go and watch this again every time. So that's we've done something good here today. And again, the instruments and stuff are just kind of working with that same like synth drum set, that same using like a synth drum tone, the tonal drum things there to like make a lot of the music for it. Like those are kind of like structuring a lot of the songs. And get like the piano and other stuff going on there. I don't know. It's in mood with the song. It kind of fits. I do kind of wish this one was also a bit more directly tied to the whole sun exploding thing, especially with how few songs are on here, but it's still kind of a neat one. And hopefully that story wasn't too boring, because I worked hard on that. I had to dig this up in my brain. I got a lot of dirt to put back on top of that hole I had to dig to find that in my brain. So excuse me, I have some brain excavation to undo, I guess. One day we will feel the sun. One day somewhere down the road. One day it will all be done. One day the sun will explode. We Will Feel the Sun is kind of framed as like a kind of like talking about this old saying or folk song or something, this idea that we've been hearing for a long time, that one day the sun will explode. And I had this argument before when the original album came out, and I don't know if I just didn't communicate this well enough or what in the song and whatever. But yeah, it's supposed to be that. It's not like, because I was just having the argument because I was being told like, well, it's not really post-apocalyptic. That's or whatever. Like, it's not like around the time the sun is exploding. If they're like one day it will happen, but it's kind of like the idea is that like, you're recalling that saying that or that song or that idea, that myth, whatever. It's kind of being said here, and you're reliving that and recounting that as it's happening is the idea. Maybe I didn't execute it super well, but I thought I did. But I also knew what I was doing, so it's easier for me to say that because I know what's going on in my head, and other people don't. So I'll let you decide. But yeah, it's just going over the ways of like, yeah, like, wow, this sucks. We're all gonna like die now. The sun sucks because it's exploding. And remember when we heard about that? We were told, we were warned. And what have we done about it? Nothing. So, I don't know. That's kind of the feel and the vibe. I like the creepy strings in it too, and like the chimes going in like at the end. Again, carried by the synth, bass, drum tones. Interesting stuff. Again, a lot of the album just has those kind of same kind of instruments and like mood. A lot of it is kind of like quiet in parts too. A lot more quietness, a lot of like punchiness to like the other like higher notes and stuff too. I don't know. It's interesting sound, and I'm liking that. And hopefully I will continue to like it. And hopefully so will you. Lots of hope happening when sun exploding is actually probably something where it's hopeless. But not hope none. So here we go. We're out the road. We will explode. So here we go. So here we go is actually from the sun's perspective. The sun realizes it's going to explode, and it knows it can't stop that from happening. And it wants to reach out and tell the people on Earth that it's going to happen, but it isn't capable of communicating with humans. And so it's having this struggle of like, it wants to say that. It wants to help. But then even if it could tell them, like, what would they be able to do about it? What could they possibly do? Is there any point in that anyway? So a pretty dark song, considering it's coming from the sun. But it's I don't know. Again, kind of the same instruments from before a little bit. It's got like an electric piano thing in there that sounds cool, and like an actual like bass in there. It sounds neat. Yeah, it's just also kind of weird how I didn't do the chorus until the end and just did the chorus, repeated that a few times. But other than that, yeah, it is just kind of interesting mostly for that like perspective shift in there as well. So that was mainly it. There's not a whole lot more to it to say, except for, oh yeah, there was a reference in there. You may have caught it. It's an easy reference to catch. The Beatles reference, when I say "Here Comes the Sun," a reference to the song "Here Comes the Sun." So that's in there. I thought that was neat, and also maybe a little on the nose, but I mean, we're all gonna die anyway from the whole sun exploding thing. So you only live once. And what, I mean, are they gonna sue me? Are they gonna sue me? Because I got news for you. Please don't do that. No one can stop the sun from exploding. No one can stop the sun from exploding. No one can stop it is another song that gets really to the point of the album. Again, talking about the sun exploding and the catastrophe, the catastrophic effect it's having on the planet as it's happening and exploding, and like waters, like lakes and oceans are boiling and all that, and things are on fire. And I really like, I really like the lines, where it's, all the forests are aflame now. Smokey couldn't take the heat. I think that's really funny. Um, Smokey the Bear reference, and also, along with that, how could God just let this happen? Cried the burning bags of meat. I thought it was it's very um, on, on brand with me at the time. Like, hey, I'm an atheist. Why don't I say things about God and how God isn't helping them or whatever? So that was probably part of that. But just the fact that it's so harsh to be like, cry the burning bags of meat, like not even saying people, like, I don't know, I like that. Good set of lines. Um, the high pitched noise in here is kind of weird. It's kind of distracting, but I do like that. Like at the end, it's kind of like the ringing, almost like the what is it, tinnitus or whatever, like the ringing in your ears. It kind of almost is like that. Like after like this loud shit happens, and that just kind of like fades out, as the only thing at the end. It's kind of a neat effect with that, and also the accordion like solo is actually, I like that. It's an interesting choice for an instrument in there. I dig it. So, this one is at least, it's very much about the album's concept, a lot. And if that's not good enough, then you know what? Maybe you don't really care that much for the whole concept of the sun exploding. Maybe that's just not your jam for an entire album, Like, fuck, man. Shit. Like, shit, fuck. Like, fuck a shit. Um, do that. I guess I will disappear into the light of the sun. I guess I will disappear is another one that's pretty on the nose of on the brand of on the concept of the whole, hey, sun is exploding and we're gonna die from it. But it's kind of a weird take because the song's almost like a happy song, but it's just this really like kind of tragic thing happening. So like it's kind of a weird juxtaposition there, and also I don't know. I guess it was kind of a nice like break from like the really like heavy and quieter stuff that was before. To have this one be a bit like louder and like I don't know, kind of like a little bit more like happy and upbeat, despite the subject matter. The I don't know if it was a flute tone or it might have been the piccolo tone. It might have been a piccolo, but that tone came in like a bit too loud, I will say. But I do like the organ in it. It's kind of a neat thing to throw in there too and give it a little more life. And the little like synth hits on there. I don't know. It's okay. It's an interesting thing to throw on there as something that fits the concept but doesn't necessarily keep with the same overall like tone of what's going on. In terms of like it sounds kind of weirdly happy for this, and I also really like it like the weird like synth tone, like it's kind of like louder as it goes and then gets quieter again. When you hold it, that tone was really cool. I like that. That made me think of like the like rays of sun, like kind of hear that like rays of sun, or like I guess it's kind of more like you hear with like cicadas or something in the summer. You hear them like really loud for a bit, and then get really loud, and they get kind of quieter again. And you kind of hear that, and it just makes me think of like a really hot day. So I liked that, and the ending part where everything is kind of weird. The last second of that, where it's like trying to be like, well, I guess I'm gonna die. I guess I'll disappear, but it's like, I'll disappear, kind of downplaying it, and then just the like pained noises of like like being like burned away, like burned alive, basically as you're dying. I don't know. I kind of like that little thing thrown in at the end too. So it's it fits. It's whoa. It fits. So what is the reason? So what did we learn? This is a new season for the earth to burn. The season of burning earth ends the album with kind of a weird, like, I don't know, it's got like just it's still about, like, oh yeah, everything's like burning up, the sun's exploding, like we're all dying, but it's in a weird way of like almost like spoken, like speaking, that kind of thing. And just sounding like, I don't know, almost like looking back on this, as a thing, and it's like, what did we figure out from this? What did we learn from this? I don't know, I like that. I swear there's like dust on the mic, and it's like, I don't know, I like this, like, kind of more like, it's more of a beat to it, it's moving, it's got like, it's got these more instruments on it, it's got like a normal drum set going for the actual like drums of it, while still keeping like that synth bass drum thing for like the main notes of it, and like just putting stuff on top of that. And the organ, and I don't know, just like the bells. It's a cool like mix of things that are like from the album, but like amping it up for like the end of it, and it's ending it on an exciting note, but then still kind of like it's kind of like a little barren at the end of it without losing like the tempo at the end. So it kind of like reflect like the beginning a little bit, but also still like more like upbeat, like or still like a higher like tempo and more energy to it at the end. It makes it interesting, and overall, I still really like the album. Just, I don't know, it's a neat little thing, neat like concept to throw in there and just make a bunch of songs about it. I had fun with it. So hopefully it was interesting to hear about, and hopefully it's cool to listen to for you guys. It's always fun to kind of have little experiments like that. Use certain tones, try to keep a concept, try to do things that are interesting within the parameters that I'm given. It's like, yeah, someone gives you like a piece of paper and a box full of a bunch of color crayons. You're like, go nuts, and you're like, I don't even know where to start. But if someone gives you a piece of paper and they like give you like, okay, now here's like 3 crayons, what can you make out of it? You're like, what can I do with these 3 crayons? It's kind of that idea. I use that a lot, but maybe that's for a different time. Whatever. Oh yeah, stuff. If you want to know anything else, go ahead and leave comments or whatever. I can answer your comments and try to. If there's anything you think I missed or you're curious about for these, definitely let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to check those out and respond to them. I don't always do that because there's not always comments there to respond to, but when there are comments, I pretty much always respond to them because that's how few comments that I get. So, also the button on the shirt still there, a dingling and a dangling. So remember to turn the keyboard on with the light this time. And you may have noticed in the back, I don't know if it shows that much, but you can see my backdrop here of my bed. I have the blanket across it now to make it look different than the other ones where I didn't do that. I usually just mostly obscure it because it's kind of usually in the back and shadow, and I want it to be, you're looking at me and you kind of see the keyboard over here, and it's not the most visually interesting show series. They're not the most visually interesting videos, but what does that matter, right? I mean, who watches things on YouTube to see them? I didn't hear anybody say anything. So thanks for watching, though. It's always nice that people do watch or listen or whatever, and it's nice to interact. And there's times when I get bad comments, mean comments, and negative. I get like the thumbs down on it. That's fine. You're allowed to do that. I don't care. It's the idea that somebody watched and interacted. They gave enough of a shit to interact. That's something. And there's a lot of people posting stuff on YouTube that don't even get that. So thanks for that. However, I would like it if the bots would stop, because they're really annoying. As much as I believe that I should, that some timestamp in my video is somehow relevant to dating site dot something with a really sketchy URL. I'm not saying that that's fake just because that's a weird, sketchy looking URL that I will never click on. Or even because it has a timestamp of something that, a time that doesn't exist in, a video. I can't go to minute 40 in a 2-minute video. But, it's really just the idea that they would comment so frequently. That's the part I really don't buy. Well, there's a lot of things I really don't buy. But in terms of that scenario, $0 have gone towards purchasing that premise. I'll see you guys later. Unless the sun explodes first. Get it? Did you? I'll leave. Core doesn't go that far. So the artwork for The Day the Sun Exploded is pretty simplistic. It's just the black background, and then I made circles, the red and the yellow to be like, kind of like in the white in the middle to make it look like a really intense explosion, really simplified explosion idea. It kind of reminds me of like something you see on like a record or something, I guess, like the inside of like a record and having those stripes on it or something, and then like the outside being the record almost. I don't know why I always kind of thought that. And for the redone cover, anyways, all I've done is just redone it so that, just like cleaned up the lines and made the font better. Like I think I maybe redid the circles a bit, slightly too, but like, yeah, it's just so they would have crisp edges. It's all the same, pretty much the same, cover. And the words are blue, because I like blue, but also because, like, sometimes, flames can be blue, depending on how, I think it depends on, I don't know, it's like what they're burning or how intensely or something. Very scientific way I've researched that. And my name, I think originally maybe was also in blue to go with that. And I think I changed it to black just so it would stand out, so it wouldn't look like it's part of the title somehow. So that's pretty much all there was for The Day the Sun Exploded, but that's okay. It gets the point across because it says what it needs to say anyway, so I don't need to really be all that descriptive with the images. I don't need 1,000 words with my image when I can do it in, less.